Real quick, before we start this podcast episode, I just want to say thank you for tuning into the Marc Colcer podcast. I know you've got a million things that you could be doing right now, and the fact that you're taking time out of your day to watch this podcast episode truly means the world to me, and I just want to say thank you for that. If you'd like to continue to support the podcast, right below this video, if you could hit the subscribe button, and then, hey, if you got some more time and you want to hit the download button, the comment button, the like button, the share button, any of those buttons, it's greatly, greatly appreciated. It helps for other people to find out about the podcast, and it helps for you to be notified about future episodes. So if you guys could take a quick second, hit the subscribe button, I would really appreciate that. Outside of that, this episode and every other episode is brought to you guys by Roast Umber Coffee. As some of you guys know, I co-founded Roast Umber Coffee, and we have the greatest farmers in Guatemala and Honduras and the greatest roaster in Grand Rapids, Michigan, all to bring you guys the greatest cup of coffee possible. So if you'd like to try it out, go to our website, use the coupon code MARC30, and you're going to get 30% off your coffee. Now on to the episode. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Welcome to the Marc Colcer podcast. Well, hey, man.
Hi.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Good to be here.
You know, a lot's happened in the last few months since you've been on the podcast.
Few things.
Few things.
Yeah.
So, all right, real quick. So for people who don't know who you are, can you explain who you are real quick?
My name's Sekrit, Secret Squirrel. I'm co-founder of Liberty Square.
There we go. There we go. And you look beautiful right now.
Thank you.
I might have to have a nice zoom in at this point because just to show how beautiful you look right now.
Yeah, the eyes.
And the eyes are, it's truly just beautiful to stare into. So, but yeah, man. So I feel like we should probably take it back, from when you came on here last, and we were just talking about that. That was what, July?
Mm-hmm.
So, from July until now, there's been a lot that's happened with Liberty Square. There's been a lot that's happened just in the NFT world in general. The crypto world, never a dull day. And so I want to kind of talk about when you first came on, the project was only at that time, like a few weeks old?
Like 5 days.
5 days old, right?
Yeah.
And so at the time, the floor price was right around 1. It wasn't anything drastic. And since then, we've seen, I would say, Liberty Square has developed like one of the craziest communities in terms of just so much support for Liberty Square, so much love for Liberty Square. It's been really, really cool to watch because I feel like a lot of projects talk about community, but it's one of the hardest things to develop. So I want you to kind of reflect on, I guess, how have the last few months been, and what has it been like seeing, the project go from what you had originally created and with Scribble to where it's at now and the community that's developed alongside it.
Yeah. Fuck. Oh, sorry. I mean, it's super awesome, right? Like, we are beyond humbled by the growth that's occurred. And I think, like you said, community is one of the hardest things. We have Cass. She's amazing. We have Wub and Relly and the Sentinels and Discord, who are all amazing. And they've certainly helped a ton. We haven't taken our foot off the gas, really, sometimes to our detriment. But yeah, it's wild. It's wild. I think that the thing that sort of changed the most, and I don't know if it changed because it didn't exist, right? The sort of the development that occurred that was the most unexpected is the best way to say that, is how fast things move. And how rapidly things can change in either direction, and how little control we actually have over those things, simultaneously how much control we have if we mislead in any way. So there's a lot of caution that's now taken that probably wasn't taken in August and September.
Can you give an example of what you mean by that? Let's put you right into the fire.
Yeah, you just don't want to say certain things to certain people. Is the best way to say that, right? Like, DMs are closed for a reason. I think there's a lot of people who trust becomes a different sort of thing, and it's just easier to keep your mouth shut as your project sort of moves down the road. It's easier to keep your mouth shut than it is to say things.
And I feel like that's something about you where you say that, but you're one of the more vocal people in the space where you, and I think that's one of the reasons why people really love you is that you voice your opinion on pretty much everything that happens in the space. Even at times when I don't believe that you're looking to give your opinion, but then you're in a Twitter space, somebody calls you up, they want to hear what your thoughts are on certain things. And I think what I've always really respected is that you speak your mind and you say it how it is. And it doesn't mean that I'm always going to agree with every single thing, but I love the fact that you speak your mind and you're emotional because you care. And it's something that I've always loved about you is that I can tell how much you genuinely care about all of your holders, about everybody on your team, and about the NFT space in general. And I think that's something that you can't say about every single project founder. And so with that, there's always going to be, I guess, some kind of pissing matches that happen on Twitter from time to time as people take offense to certain things that are said, and it's an emotional space to begin with. But I've always respected how just bluntly honest you are, and how you're always able to you don't shy away from, I guess, the violence sometimes. And maybe that's just the Liberty Square mantra. But you speak your mind, and I respect the fuck out of that, and I think a lot of other people do too.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I speak my mind. It's funny you say that, like, because as I said what I said previously, I was on the phone with Bryce on the way over here, and I was like, yeah, this is this and this is this. And he goes, yeah, but can you keep your fucking mouth shut? I was like, we're going to see, right? Yeah, I speak my perception, right? It doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. It doesn't mean it's well thought out. Sometimes it's off the cuff and probably should put a stopgap in some of those things. But I also think, to your point, right, there's... And I have a third alt now that I'll go into spaces and listen to spaces because I like to listen. That's how I learn and just can observe, right? And I think there's something about gaining as much knowledge through keeping your mouth shut before you open your mouth, right? And I also think I'm a fucking boomer. And so I have no problem speaking my mind, right? To me, if you don't convey your ideas publicly, they just stay in your own echo chamber. And when people disagree or people have a difference of opinion, I think that's really good for growth on both sides. Oftentimes, neither of us get there because we're too busy trying to swing our dicks around on Twitter to actually stop and pay attention. But I do always try to go back and reflect on the conversation. I have a lot more of those, or have had a lot more of those than others maybe, where I'm not gonna, we're just gonna speak our mind and our truth, and I think we've done a pretty good job, and myself personally, I should say, a fairly good job of staying true to who I am at the end of the day, and that doesn't mean that who I am in my person doesn't need modification, right? There's growth that has to occur, but I do think that sort of violence, which has always been a metaphor for just realism, right? I think we talked about that in the first podcast. Being real is probably one of the most important attributes somebody could have. And being real without fear is even more important. And I would say 99.9% of the time I'm fearless about it, right? Like, I'm also okay being wrong. And I think that's a thing that people don't realize because I'm kind of a loudmouth, but like, I'm good being wrong. If I can be proven wrong on a point of view, or if just neither party's correct or right, it's just two different potentialities, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that I'm looking forward to, kind of the growth of the NFT space, because I feel like in some ways what we do is anytime there's some sort of controversy that's going on, which is every other day, but anytime there's a situation like that going on, people, I feel like, holds you to your first thought on it, right? And I feel like that's one of the detriments right now of the space is that your opinion on things does often in life just grow and evolve and change, and it should. In a lot of circumstances, it should. And I feel like a lot of times what happens is something happens, you give your initial, emotional response to it. And I'm not saying you, I'm saying literally everybody in the space, right? And then as more and more perspectives come in, a lot of times you evolve your opinion, and next thing you know, you change on that opinion, right? And I think a lot of times we hold people to, well, you said this a week and a half ago, and it's like, yeah, but with new information, your thoughts on that can change. And also there's certain times where you're like, you know what, fuck it. I just have to deal with whatever that situation is, whether I like it or not. And so therefore I'm going to do this, and this in order to, do what's best for my project or do what's best for myself or, whatever, right? And so I do feel like the thing I love about the space is that we all tend to voice our opinions. I think that's good. Like you said, it's good for growth for people to do that. But I also think sometimes we need to take a step back and realize that with that, we should all be listening to other people and then allow people to change their opinion, to evolve their opinion, because that's how we really grow the space, is by people showing different perspectives. And then sometimes you're like, hey, you know what? I listened to that person and that perspective was, was spot on. And so therefore, like, I'm changing my mind on that. And now I'm, my thoughts on it are this, right? And
yeah, dude, with new information, new opinions form, and if they don't, you're actually just dumb, right? And I don't mean that in a critical way. I mean, like, if you get new information about something, whether it's proven to be factual or not, but you receive new information and you don't process that information and apply that information to the situation, what are you doing, right? You're literally just being closed-minded. And I think that crypto Twitter, let's separate the two.
Yeah.
There's blockchain technologies, there's NFT technology and projects, and then there's crypto Twitter. And crypto Twitter is a really unforgiving and sort of static thing, right? Meaning it moves really rapidly, but people forget that it moves really rapidly. So you can say something. I could have said something 3 weeks ago. This is what we're going to do. 2 weeks ago, FTX does what FTX does. Solana does what Solana does. What I said 3 weeks ago matters not.
Yep.
It's gone.
Yep.
Doesn't apply anymore. We have to change our course really fucking fast. And unless you're... I want to be careful how I say this. I would say that project founders are more challenged in those instances to respond quickly than the general sort of holders or community. And unless you've done that or going through that, and you have, a team of 9 that needs to get paid, and you have all of these other things, and you have all of your holders going, oh my God, blah, 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 and the sky is falling, you kind of don't really have a right to have an opinion about what we're going through. You have a right to have an opinion about what you're going through, but you can't really sit there and throw stones at project founders at that point, right? And this is, I got into this in a space last night about another project where people had been throwing stones, and I was like, who the fuck? Like, if I invest in a restaurant down the street and the owner calls me and goes, yo, man, I have this cool opportunity to go to Pomona and open another restaurant, I'm not going, fuck you. I'm going, fuck yeah, that means we're actually doing well. If people want to expand their projects in this ecosystem in Solana or ETH or Polygon or Cardano or Wax or wherever the fuck they want to go at this point in time, who the fuck are we to judge that, man? Like, isn't that what project holders want, is growth for their project? So I think that since we announced the Hallowed, which was October 13th, it's been just over a month. The very next day, buyer optional royalties. 12 hours later. Cool. Awesome. Right on. Mint the Hallowed 2 weeks later. Go to Lisbon. Breakpoint ends. The very next day, FTX. Right, Sam? Cool. Right? So it's all hands on deck for every project at this point, right? And projects need the support of the communities at this point. That's why we're really, really fucking blessed. But I've been saying this in spaces a little bit lately too. The idea of silos and of projects being siloed off from each other and communities being siloed in these projects probably needs to go away for a little bit. I think that as an ecosystem right now, say for the next 6 weeks, 7, 8 weeks, we should probably let the walls come down and lay down the weapons for a little bit. And it's not us against them. It's all of us against all of them. Right. And that's, that's where my focus is right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. I think, with all of this, situations are rapidly changing. And I think a lot of times, because a lot of us have, money that's invested in this, it's emotional. And so when people see their bags go down, they get emotional and they fire off a tweet. And I think at times we just need to take a step back, take a deep breath, and remind ourselves that, like, this space is growing by the minute and it's evolving by the minute, and you have to adapt or die. And like, that's how it goes. And, it's crazy if you think about in, April or May, if a project came out and said, we took all of our mint funds and we sold it all into USD, people would be like, are you fucking serious?
You took money out of the ecosystem.
Yeah. Like, I can't believe you guys did that, blah, 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 blah. But yet, if a project told you right now, we held all of our funds and we sold.
You're fucking idiot.
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe you guys did that. You guys didn't think about a potential runway. Like, you guys didn't think about a potential recession. Yada. And it's like, but yet, if we went back, we'd find tweets where people said something negative about a project who sold all their, sold into USD, 4 or 5 months ago, right? And so I think with that, we're all guilty of it, right? Yeah. I know I've done it, but I think this is where we have to take a step back, remind ourselves that, like, there is no handbook on, like, how to handle all this shit.
No, we're writing it. Yeah. All of us. All of us collectively are actually writing the future. And I think that it is important to have these emotional sort of things that do occur. But I think pragmatism might be something that we should all look at for a minute. We can go back to throwing fucking, back alley blows any day of the week, right? That's easy to do. We do it all day right now. But I think if right now, projects and communities, influencers, shit posters, memers, whatever, right? If we all go like, fuck, Soul's at $14, what are we going to do? Right? It doesn't matter how bad your bags are down. They can still go lower. We're not at zero. So I think that, and for me, and I guess sort of where we found our position in the ecosystem, that is what we're doing, right? Like, I was in somebody last night, it's like, I noticed sort of the tone of the Liberty accounts changed. I'm like, fuck yeah, it's changed. Because that tone does not apply in this certain environment right now. It'd be out of pocket, right? That's not okay. So we're gonna modify our behaviors to be supportive of whatever we can be and to do whatever we can do for our project, our holders, our team, and Solana, which is our home.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, even last week when everything went down with FTX, I saw a few people come out and kind of say, well, we don't need toxic positivity at the same time, right? And I was like, yeah, but while I get that, the other thing is, like, when people's bags are down already tremendously, like, kicking people when they're down isn't going to help anything either. And so
what the fuck is toxic? Like, fuck off.
Right. Like, we need positivity at a time when it's like, I think people forget when a lot of people haven't been through the 2017 crash, right? And people legitimately, like, this is tough to hear, but it's the reality of things. There are people who kill themselves over shit like this. And so and I've remember stories from back then. I got into crypto in 2016. I remember those stories in 2017. And when people's bags are tremendously affected by all of this, we do need to be a little bit nicer to each other, because you don't know what that person's going through. You don't know, are they good financially? Are they, did they, a lot of people, we joke about taking profits and things like that, but there's a lot of people who, including myself, who didn't take profits when I was up big, right? Yeah. And so, even like you called me last week and you were like, hey, are you good? And I very much appreciated that conversation, because I had a shitty week last week. And, and that was something that meant a lot to me, that you reached out and just wanted to check on how I was doing. And you called me at literally 6:30 in the morning in Portugal, right? Yeah. And so, it's things like that where looking out for each other is what makes this space special, is that we all know what each other's going through right now. So even if somebody's not in the same project as you or whatever, we're all going through pretty similar things. And so if you just look out for each other, just check in on people, how are you doing? That to me isn't toxic positivity. It's just being positive in a time when it's so easy to be negative, and like we all can just use it's nice to have a friendly phone call or somebody checking in, just seeing how you're doing. That stuff means a lot. And when people are down bad like they are right now, and this very well could get worse, like you said, I mean, that's the thing about a crypto winter, is that when you think it's bad, it usually gets worse, and then it bounces back at some point and then stays stagnant for another, usually for a few years.
Yeah, perhaps. I think maybe a hot take, maybe not. I think when we're talking about macro, I think a lot of people have a lot of opinions. Nobody's lived it.
Right.
Nobody's lived a crypto winter with NFTs, with Solana, with community, with the set of parameters that exist today, with SBF, with this, with the feds coming, with regulation coming, with the SEC coming. Nobody's lived this. So I don't know. I don't think anybody can predict. I think what we can do is just fucking live, right? And look out for each other, like you said, like I try to do, and I'm going to continue to try to do. It's undoing conditioned behavior. Roll back the rhetoric. Bring it back just a little bit. Have fun. Still practice violence. Be real. But that doesn't mean, if somebody wants to attack on the timeline, I'm probably going to ignore it for a little bit. That doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Help anybody. Come at me, and silence is going to be really, really loud.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's once again, it's like we adapt as the space goes. We adapt as things happen. You kind of prep. You try to prep as much as you can for whatever may happen. But also, you always know there's always going to be something that happens that you're just completely not expecting, right?
Yeah.
FTX is a great example of, if you told me a year ago that FTX would be filing for bankruptcy, I would be like, well, the world ended. Like, what do you mean?
Well, it also just proves this isn't meant the way it may come across to people. We're just puppets. Right at the end of the day, we don't control the price of Sol. We don't control the market conditions. We have very little effect on any price action. We're puppets. We're playing in our own world while other people play in the DeFi world and the big crypto world. Okay, cool. Yeah. So do what you can, which is control your own shit. In my case, in our case, create and build the best shit we can with the circumstances that we currently have. The rest doesn't matter, right? Like, we can't do anything about it. So if you surrender the idea of having any control over that and only focus on the fact that we can control ourselves, you might find yourself in a better spot, right? And I think there are a lot of people overexposed, totally overexposed. I think that'll shake out. I know that'll shake out. It has to. That's just sort of common sense. And once it shakes out, we'll sort of find where the new footing is, and you start climbing the fucking Himalayas again. You walk up one step at a time. It is what it is. Yeah. What can we do about it?
Yeah. And I think my last note on that too would be that I think community is one of the big reasons why. If you said to me, why do you believe that NFTs are going to survive however long this crypto bear market lasts, right? My biggest reason for that would be the community, that the fact that we still have throughout all of this, we have people tweeting nonstop every day. We have people in Twitter Spaces. We have people in Discord. People genuinely give a shit. When they genuinely give a shit, usually those things tend to last. And so when you look at even taking different cryptocurrencies, there are people who are ETH maxis, Bitcoin maxis, Solana maxis, whatever. You know what you don't tend to see? Shitcoin maxis, right? And that's why most shitcoins die during the bear markets, because there's no one there supporting those, right? And so NFTs to me are not shitcoins. They're not anything similar to that at all. They're NFTs to me. Communities are what will keep them afloat. So the projects that have the diehard communities, the projects that are just genuinely good people and other people want to be around, those are the projects that are going to survive. There's going to be projects that don't survive, and it's because they don't have that sense of community, and people sell them, and that's that. But the projects that have the intense communities, the projects that, in the NFT space in general, just once again, being a space that other people want to be around, that's what's going to keep NFTs living on throughout this bear market. And that's where, when we get to that next bull, it's going to be fucking fun knowing what we all went through together and then where we got to. But, we have to also keep in mind, we are a big reason why this space is going to survive, because every day we're contributing to the survival of NFTs by just being positive thought leaders by, having positive conversation about, different ideas. And doesn't mean you're always going to love every idea that comes out there. But I think a big part of it is just listening to people's ideas. And because once again, we're writing the history of NFTs. And with that, you're not going to agree with everything. That's not it at all. But it's hearing other people, listening to them, having, constructive conversation about it, and then really growing the space together. That's what's going to take us to NFTs being what we know they can be.
Yeah. I mean, it's much simpler, I think, than people realize, sociologically speaking, right? Is some things are more important than money. And some people will outlast their losses because those things that they're getting sociologically in this world are more than they're getting in their real life. And that should be the case, right? To a degree. And I think any strong community, you're going to have people, even though you only know them by an avatar or a screen name, that you have a deeper connection with than people do IRL, because you can actually let your guard down when you're hiding behind zeros and ones. And if you're actually letting your guard down, you become vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, true bonds form. And I think that, yeah, I'm here for that for sure. And I've said this privately and I think publicly, but if not, here we go. We'll ride Soul to zero as Liberty. And we'll see where the fuck that we are. We'll take our community and we'll pack up and we'll go figure out where our new home has to be, if that's what has to happen. But Solana's our home. So if we go to zero, we go there together with our community. Doesn't mean we're not going to go multi-chain. Doesn't mean we have other plans. Don't have other plans. It means that community is the basis of Liberty right now. And as we continue to grow, community will only strengthen. And hopefully what will happen is that the community numbers will grow as new entrants enter, right? That's sort of...
Let's fucking go.
That's sort of the trick.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so let's. This is great. This was actually I love the start of this episode, and so I want to get into some more of the intricacies of Liberty Square, and so I want to talk about first the Hallowed collection. So let's get into, I guess, what was the original thought process behind the Hallowed?
Oh, thank you. It always was, right? The Hallowed's existed since April. I can go back in the timeline. Last podcast, I said everything you need to know that we're doing is right in front of your eyes, right? Go look at the timeline from April through fucking June. I said, hallowed be thy name. It's always been there. It was always scheduled for Devil's Night. There's a photo I posted of a house burning that somebody actually went and Google reverse image search to hit, and it was a Devil's Night, a house burning on Devil's Night in Detroit.
Oh, shit.
You can go back and find it all. It was always intended. It was always a thank you. It was always to humanize the collection and to add this sort of different mystery to the lore.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. So how did you guys come up with the art behind it? I mean, you talked about right there just humanizing the initial collection. I guess where did the whole thought process go with the art?
It's always been that way, right? So the story is written, right? Like the actual story of Liberty, sort of series 1, if you will, the 150 pages, it's written. There were tweets that I put out with images that said, "Did you really think there were squirrels?" Right? The story's written. It's the best fucking fuck. We were gonna shoot a little trailer right after we minted, using humans in the Hallowed costumes to sort of start teasing the Hallowed. We chose not to for so many reasons, but it's yeah, we'll see where we go. We'll see what it all means, Mark. That's all I can say.
God, Every time, like, I know I'm gonna watch back on these episodes like a year from now and be like, oh shit, like I missed this. He meant this by that. You know, it's one of the parts about you, Liberty, that I love is that I know there's always some underlying messages here and there, and it's it's always fun to try to decode. I will never get it because that's not how my brain works. So when people are looking for seed phrases and certain things, I'm never gonna be the guy that finds that shit. But it is always interesting to read through some of the subliminal messaging and it's going to be fun to see how Liberty Square continues to develop from here.
It's super fun. Yeah. For me, Easter eggs are the most fun part of Liberty and the sort of, the game theory of the lore, right? Like knowing when you have the entire thing written from a lore perspective and the characters all developed and deeply developed, like pages and pages of character development worksheets. When that happens, it gets really easy to tease the future and really easy to drop a little breadcrumbs on the trail. And nobody's even picked up on the Easter eggs inside the Hallowed yet. There's so many of them. Everything we're doing, again, it's in there, right? Like it's already there. So even leaning into sort of the gang names, right? Purity, strength, wisdom, clarity, innocence, and vengeance. It's like, it's all there. It's all fucking there.
God.
And there's 7 sacred souls, but only 6 released. So figure out who the 7th is, and you might be heading down the right path.
Come on, people. Start diving into this. We got to figure this out, okay? All right, so then let's talk about, I guess, what were some of the initial problems that you guys had with the Hallowed art creation, whether it's the reveal or whether it's just like the fact that the market was changing by the minute at the same time. Was there ever any thought of delaying the art? One of the best topics in Solana NFTs. Was there any? Yeah, no thought?
No. The first time that we determined that we were delaying the art was the morning of October 30th on the mint, and somewhere maybe late the night of the 29th, and it's because it wasn't good enough. Not because the art wasn't good enough, the trait distribution wasn't good enough. Just what was there was like, cool, it's good, but is it great? And as a thank you to our community, we didn't want to be B+, we wanted A+, and so that's just what happened. And when that delay occurred, I fucked up, right? Like that's the bottom line is I should never put a date on anything. I should have said it's not ready yet. But you can't pull a mint sort of within 12 hours. Once the candy machine's spun up and everything's going, you can. But like, what does that do to the overall sentiment in the ecosystem at large, right? And so there's a responsibility that I felt for that. And I truly thought we'd be able to nail it in 24 to 48 hours. That's what I thought. And we couldn't. And then I opened my mouth again, and we couldn't. And then I opened my mouth again, and we couldn't. And then we were done. And I went to go get on the airplane, and I literally, flying back from Lisbon, intended on like getting everything out the door. And I was walking through the airport with my laptop open, uploading all these files and getting everything done. And the Google Drive, for whatever reason, I've never had it happen. It happened twice, 3 times maybe, 3 times total, unmounted at like 9,600 total uploads. And I was like, nope, fuck this, right? So then I got home and whatever we did. But there weren't really problems. The only problem at the end, the only 2 sort of perceived problems are A, I should have kept my mouth shut. Okay, cool, easy to do. Maybe not. And B, shit happens. Like you just have to understand that technology is gonna technology sometimes. And when technologies, you start over, right? When you generate all of these files and it craps out at 9,600 or 9,900, it doesn't get quite to 99.99 or whatever, you start at 0. When you generate everything and there's a layering issue in sort of the 18th instance, which is 300 lines of code in, you start over. And so you're just constantly fucking chasing this. At least that's our process. Others may have a different process that's a little more streamlined. I don't know, but yeah, you just, that's it.
I think people have to keep in mind that when you're not doing something to like create in this space, a lot of times when you're creating in the space, there's things that happen that are outside of your control, right? And so even take for example the fact that I told you, hey, this podcast will come out Friday, right after you guys get done with your town hall, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to try everything in my power to make that happen. The issue that I have, and this is we can speak through the process here, is that as I was uploading clips from the last podcast that I just did onto my external hard drive, I just realized I'm out of space on that external hard drive. So now I have a external hard drive that's overnighting here, right? Well, I have to wait for that to get here in order to put these video files on that so that I can start editing. But knowing you and I, we're 42 minutes into this podcast already, and actually there's probably 5 minutes I might cut off at the beginning. But so we're already a half hour or so into the podcast. It's probably going to be an hour and a half episode to begin with. And so, yeah, it's going to take a second to edit it from there and then to export it and then to upload it. And so there's all these like various things. And there's times when people are like, well, can't you speed up that process? Whatever. It is drastically difficult to do these things. And it sounds a lot easier of like, oh, well, Mark, why don't you just have like faster internet? And it's like, well, because my apartment complex doesn't have fiber and it's outside my control and I can't do anything about it.
Or because that's just not the world I live in, right? Like, why can't you just have more fucking patience becomes the actual question for humans, right? In general. And I think that comes with expectation management, which I did a poor job of with the Hallowed for sure. And the other thing, I guess the only other problem in air quotes is personally, I let the pursuit of perfect get in the way of great, right? So we went from good to me chasing perfect. And Scribble, that fucking beast, just yep, and kept going. 70% of what he did ended up not being used, right? Because didn't have to. Just what it was unnecessary, and I think we got really close to perfect. There's some layering issues, but like comparatively from July to October, exponential growth as far as just technology and how it all came out. So I'm really happy with that part of it for sure.
Yeah. And I think, the last thing that I would say is that this is for anybody who's watching, when you know that there are founders that are actually, and founders and the teams behind those founders, working their ass off to do something in this space, just like extend a little grace their way because there are plenty of people who aren't doing shit and are lazy and whatnot. But when you recognize that a team is actually busting their ass, and I because I know you personally and I've had a number of conversations with you, like I know how hard you work. I know how hard the rest of the team works. And so with that, I know that you want this shit to reveal just as bad, more. Actually, you want it to reveal more than all of us because you and Scribble and the rest of the team have busted ass in order to get this collection ready to go. And so you want all of us to see it because you want us to see it and love it. And
dude, even beyond that, right? Yes, that's true. But beyond that, people had already purchased them.
Right.
To me, it was like, those are theirs. They deserve to have their shit. And then second to that was fucking Cass and Wublub are getting assaulted in Discord by these motherfuckers. And lastly is Scribble's worked his ass off. I've worked my ass off. Let's get it out there. All of those things apply. That said, like, there's a lot of daggers that I deserve for sure, right? And I'm here for that. You know that about me. But like, there's also a point in that process. Take liberty out of it and take any project and insert project A here. Shit happens. And if shit happens and you're going to pile on, I want a Cybertruck too. Where's the Cybertruck, Mark?
Not here yet.
Where's the Cybertruck? Where's this fucking bulletproof glass that the baseball went through? You know what I'm saying? Like, Tesla's got more money than any of us, than any project in any ecosystem could ever have. Shit went sideways.
Yeah.
So the SpaceX rockets that blew up, not intentional, right? Tech shit happened. And I think we live in this, dude, in what fucking world can you pay less than half of a fucking tank of gas to complain to the company about a product that had no sort of promise of value increase, that has a relative value decrease based on Solana crashing? Like, a little bit of grace might be the best way to say that, of like, understand that there are so many things beyond our control. That said, there's a lot of shit that I personally have control of that I have not executed well on. That's my next fucking task, right? That was for so many reasons. Lost a week in Vegas because of the rage room. People backed out on our drive out there, so we had to fucking pivot real time and create a whole different display with a partner and blah, blah, blah. Cool, that sucked. And then the Hollow revealed. It took 2 extra weeks of my life. So those 3 weeks, those 21 days is a lifetime in a project management thing. So I fucked up. We'll get it on course. That's it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with everything, you know, there's a lot more than meets the eye, and the nice part about the podcast and stuff is that we can talk about these things.
Sure.
And, and you and I have talked about the idea of doing more of these episodes. So if you guys want that, let us know. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be,
Mark,
yes.
You're singular, not plural.
What do you mean? What did I say?
I said let us know, but it's only you, so I'll let you know.
This is facts. This is facts. But yeah. So I love how the Hallowed art turned out. I was super excited to see the Hallowed collection that I got. But I do have to put my hand up and say, the night that you guys did the drop at DJ NFT, I was too drunk and forgot to grab mine. So
cupcake.
So yeah, hand up. I messed up.
That's okay.
Yeah, that was a tough moment for me
I'm gonna FUD you.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I decided that night that I was 21 again and was taking tequila shots like I was in college again, and I can't do that. And so that night was a rough night for me. So,
yeah, I love being sober.
Dude,
it's so good.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
It's so good.
I walked home 2 miles because I was too drunk to get into a car, and I was like, I can't get into a car. I'm gonna puke. And then also, if I stay where I'm at right now, I'm gonna have a bunch of people on Twitter who are gonna see me vomit. And so I was like, I have to go home. So I told everybody, I Irish goodbye. I said, everybody, I'm going to the bathroom, and I just peaced out and left and walked home. And I was walking through a very sketchy part of Vegas. And I was like, this might be where it ends for me. But I was like, I cannot get into a car because it just will not end well. And so
there aren't very non-sketchy parts of Vegas.
Yeah, that was something. But okay, so one of the questions that a community member had was about the tech or the mech armor on the Hallowed collection. So what was the inspiration behind that? If there was any direct,
it's a scribble question, to be honest. The inspiration for a lot of the pieces was just a phone call. I think it comes from everywhere. All inspirations come from everywhere. But he had done sort of one sketch of that early on, and I was like, that's dope. And he just sort of fucking went full tilt with it. And then when he did like the shoulder armor and the forearm armor and the separate weapons and the secondary weapons, it was like, oh fuck yeah, that's the ultra rare instance of strength.
Yeah, those are pretty epic.
They're pretty dope, man. I'm super proud of him for because it's really uncharacteristic, down to the fucking antenna on the shoulder armor, right? There's this little bitty antenna that looks like a fucking, like a stray pen mark. But if you zoom in, because they're high res files, it's a little fucking antenna, and it's just like crazy. So I'm super, you'll have to ask him.
Yeah, we got to get the Scribble episode happening soon. And then how cool is it for you to see like the sub DAOs create as a result of it? Like I put out my one of my Hallowed, one of my like favorite ones that I got, and it has the fist in there, right? And right away I was added to Fist DAO, right? So what is it like for you to see these kind of sub DAOs create as a result of the art that you guys made?
Yeah, they're such a tricky thing for me as a human, right? Just the idea of a DAO in general is a tricky thing for me as a human because I don't think that they work. There's instances that have had success. Time will tell the tale of them. The sort of sub DAOs, which are basically just DM chat groups, right? That's all they really are at the end of the day. There are some in our community that have done a few things that are really good for the world. There's others that have been problematic, where personalities, and the cult of personality takes over internally. So the project stance on sub-DAOs, on the record, is cool, do you. We're not going to support it. We're not going to admonish it. We're not going to do. It's not because we don't believe in what you're doing. It's because if we get behind one, We have to get behind them all. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of things going on, and we never want to feel dictatorial. So if we get behind one and then somebody acts like an asshole, which has happened multiple times, what are we supposed to do? Police it? That's not our job, right? That's a community sub-DAO. So I think it's cool, and I think it gives people a really good opportunity to come together. They have our full blessing to use the IP and do whatever the fuck they want for the most part, right? Like, as long as it's not harming the brand overall. But as far as like us like ramping behind it, like the lawyers told, we had a call. The lawyers and I had a call at some point. They're like, yeah, the team should get out of all group chats. The team shouldn't be in group chats. I was like, that's fair, right? Because we just don't ever need, I don't ever need to have to call somebody on the team and be like, you fucked up in a group chat?
Yeah.
For what, right? And it's a weird thing because we are so above the board on the books, right? Like everything's legit, everything's pro, everything is legal, everything's accounted, all of that. Because of my IRL life, I don't need the trouble just because we wanted to have a cool project that's doing cool shit. I have 2 kids. Like I don't, my business there. I don't need any weird crossover. So sub DAOs are dope, but like I don't know what people want from us. I think, there's so many of them because we have 12 different gangs in Squirrels and 6 different gangs in Hallowed and different armor, and now there's Fist DAO and Mech DAO and fucking Smiley DAO and Cipher DAO, and it's like they're all dope. People do cool shit, and I think that's great. But it doesn't mean like, go do you.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think, one of the nice parts about them, and it's up to the community members if they do this, is, you're now in a group chat with a bunch of people. Feel free to connect with those people. You guys all have something in common. And it's my favorite part about Web3 has been getting to know a lot more people. And I have a lot of people that I've met through Twitter that I now consider legitimate good friends of mine.
Yeah.
So, I think that's probably, the biggest benefit of all of these is that you're now in a group chat with a bunch of people. And for, a lot of people, it's that sense of community, even more of a sense of community. And so just connect with people, get to know them and bond over the fact that you guys have some really dope PFPs.
Yeah, and do you, right? Like have fun for sure. But like there's Mantra DAO, which is all the whales, right? And 30 plus or whatever. Okay. Like I don't, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah, fair. So, okay, so the next question, this is a good question from somebody, but they said, and let me make sure this is all correct too. You guys have, and correct, unless this has changed, 4 eventual collections in the works. Am I right on that?
5.
5?
5.
Okay, 5.
Right now. Yeah.
Okay. So do you worry at all about, I guess, like the speed of that expansion? Because
every day.
Okay. So what are your
No, I don't worry. I think about it every day.
Okay.
So go ahead.
And I guess what are your thoughts on like how quickly can that expand? Because obviously anytime you're bringing in these large collections, and are all of them going to be 10K collections?
No.
Okay. Ooh. Little nugget there. So with that, I guess, what are your thoughts on like what do you view as like the biggest benefit of adding more collections, and then how do you make sure that doesn't have a negative price impact on original collections and things like that?
Yeah, I'll do the second part first. We don't control price. We don't control price action. All we control is what we control and doing what we do and building what we build. Is it too fast? Yeah, I think the Hallowed was probably like, well, I don't know. Too many things changed. Had royalties still been on, had SPF not fucked around, had Soul still been in that 38 range, would people think anything? Or would they just be saying thank you? I don't know.
Right, yeah.
There's some metrics we're paying attention to that we need to figure out what's going on with some of those with the Hallowed right now. Our multi-chain thing is now in December for sure. That's an interesting one, right? Because there's maintenance of that and management of that. There's also taking care of our holders and making sure that they have access to that. When I look at our community at large, maybe we have 2 10,000 piece collections right now. Our holders aren't 20,000, right? We have 5,000, 7,000 maybe aggregate holders between the two collections at this point. That's not that's not problematic to manage, I don't think. We haven't experienced that. But I do think every day, so this is sort of what I think every day. We're lucky and blessed. How do we drive value to squirrels? How do we drive value to the community-determined value of filth? How do I get that filth back from the holders? And what are we doing next, right? And now, as of this week, what that changed you starting Monday. I took Monday off. It was the first day I've taken off. Like I took like 7 hours and I was like, fuck it, and I took a nap.
Should founders nap?
Fuck yeah, they should. Now it's cool. Here's my day. We're lucky and blessed. We're behind. What can I check off the list? And how can we get caught up on these things? How are we driving value back to squirrels? How are we, and on and on. And I think that's just it. But you don't know until you know. So I could have lived in this place of uncertainty going like, yeah, maybe, I don't, or you just fucking send it and go, yeah, maybe that was a little bit too soon. But was it? If all these other circumstances hadn't happened, I'm not going to play the victim. These are the hands that we currently have. Let's go play the cards. And so we're going to go play the cards. And I think that I've had some, man, I'm not concerned at the end of the day, not because I'm arrogant or foolish, but because once we check off the shit that we're behind on, once I get caught up and we get this project right where it should be, fuck, it's just open road in front, right? So I look at knowing where we're going for next October and what that looks like, and that's what the crosshairs have been since pre-launch of the squirrels. We're good. I'm happy. And I think that the larger the community that we can have and the larger the holder count we can have, the better it's going to be for the holders. It has nothing to do with the project. It's just going to be better for them.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because there's, if you had said to me back in, let's say right after our podcast in July, if you had said to me, when do you think would be the right time for the Hallowed, right? I would have had no clue, right? And then when you guys went with October, obviously there are things that happen that are outside your control, and it's that tough argument of, do you delay? And if you delay, there's definitely issues with that, because when you delay, you're going to get fudded on Twitter. You're going to have people say this, this, and this. They're going to create whatever narratives that they want to create, right? And so you invite problems in that situation. And then if you go with the release still in October, then there's, are the market conditions perfect for that? No. Is the royalty situation do we have a solution on that yet? No. And so you could argue there's problems with that. And so no matter what you do, there's always going to be some problem that goes along with it. But like you said, it's then you take whatever happens, whatever the result is, and you go, okay, let me go back to the drawing board and figure out what do we need to do to pivot from here? Like, is that, how does this impact the next trajectory of Liberty Square, what the roadmap looks like internally in terms of what you guys have planned and whatnot. And then are you still on target for the big goals that you have, like you said, with next October, right? And so as long as you can say, yeah, we're still on track for that, then keep fucking doing things.
Also, dude, let's not forget, it was free.
Yeah.
It was a free airdrop that you could mint with Filth, that you could earn for free, that we backfilled 780,000 of in August. Because we delayed staking. We didn't have to do that. Look at projects now. Staking's not day and date with shit.
Yeah.
Nobody backfills shit. We gave away 1 million Filth, which as of today, I don't know, it's 8-9 cents, 7-9 cents, somewhere in there. All things considered, for a community determined value of a fucking SPL token, I'll take that. So it was free. And it was not only free, you were incentivized to use Filth to mint, by it being cheaper to mint with Filth than it was with Sol, if you take the community determined value, and it was 75% of that, right? I don't know. I don't see that as being a net negative. I see it as being a minimum net neutral. There's more product in the market, but let's not forget that squirrels hung out from 1.2 to 2.1 to 2.4 to 2.6 to 3.4 till the end of August.
Yeah.
Middle of August. right? So I don't know. I guess let's run it back in January and have the conversation. And maybe we're wrong, but I'm highly confident that with the plans we have in place, again, we have to execute better. I have to execute better. When that happens, which will be starting now, and the past week has been that way. Yeah, I'm pretty confident, man.
I'm excited. So, okay, and then from there, I want to talk about Filth a little bit further. So, sure. I know there's a lot of legalities around what you're allowed to say about Filth and the future uses of it and whatnot. What can you say about Filth? And I guess what should somebody who's holding Filth look forward to coming up soon in whatever capacity you can talk about it?
Yeah, it's. I mean, I can talk pretty freely about it. Yeah, of course, there's legalities around all that shit. They're gonna come and fucking make me an honorary member of Fist DAO or not. Yeah, Filth has had use cases. Again, Mercantile was all Filth, USDC or Sol. Hallowed was all Filth. Purgatory opens on the 25th. It's all Filth, right? Alpha is that it'll be 88 Filth per ticket to enter. So you can enter as many times as you want with your Filth. And in Purgatory is a D-God, an SMB, a cat, okay, bear, a ute, well, a tube. It's not even a ute yet. Hundreds of squirrels, right? And it rolls out, and it's all blind raffles. So you enter, and then the way that we intend to roll it out is every day, 24-hour period, whatever the total allotment is divided. And we'll do our own internal numbering system. I'm the only one who will know the numbers of anything. And those will be assigned to these blind raffles. And then it'll run for 24 hours. At 24 hours and 15 minutes, they'll start revealing one at a time every 30 seconds. And the wallet address that one will get the airdrop of the placeholder, and they'll exchange that for the actual NFT that they want. It's all Filth.
I'm excited. I'm
88 Filth by sort of what we were just talking about. It's like $7. So if I told you could win potentially a squirrel, even, which is a 9 soul, which is 100 and something bucks right now, right? For $7, I think that's a pretty good use case for Filth.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hey, you can get our coffee right here.
Get some fucking roast umber and Night Watch.
We gotta plug that right there. You know what? I'm just keeping that up there from now on. So should. Now, because I've kept the roast umber can, but now we gotta have Night Watch chilling there too.
Fucking clean.
But
yeah. So there's that. But I will say this about Filth. So, yeah, we've known about the multi-chain thing since like August with the partner that we're doing it with. And we've said the whole time it's super unconventional. I don't know if anybody really sees it coming. It's super cool, in my opinion. There's a lot of opportunity there. Part of the negotiations that have been sort of handshook on, not pen and papered on, are that we're going to be able to use Filth for something really fucking cool. And I think that I've never seen a use case that's as IRL sort of tied into something that we all fucking use in my life. So long as that goes through, I feel pretty good about the use cases for Filth as a rewardonomics token. And sort of what we've always said, which is think of it as airline miles or credit card points, right? If I get credit card points, I don't just have to use those points to pay off my credit card bill. I can use those points to book a hotel somewhere. I can use those points to buy something else. I can use those points for XYZ ABC. That's where we're going with Filth.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I do want to dive more into what you just talked about with the multi-chain in a second, but before we do that, I want to just a few questions for you, and we can kind of nail those all at once. But obviously, the whole royalty situation in the last few months or so. What was that?
Those aren't doing shit.
Fair. Just turn the mic so it's facing you a little bit.
Sorry.
There you go. So the royalty situation, obviously royalties become optional. And so have the majority of your sales been with royalties, or are they not with royalties? What has it been like since the change was made on Magic Eden?
2.9%
is
our royalty rate.
No.
I mean, but that's what if you take all of the sales, all of the transactions, average the royalties that are being paid across all the sales, it's about 2.9% is our current royalty rate.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So we're down 30%.
Okay. So people pay your royalties. Come on now. I'm a big fan of royalties.
You don't get me going.
And then, obviously everything happening with the crypto market and, the royalty situation. So all these things that are happening all at once. Can you talk about the financial situation that Liberty Square is in? Are you guys good for the foreseeable future? I guess, is there any concern about, just being able to fund the project properly?
No, nothing. I have zero concerns about funding the project. I have concerns about the project funding the project, but we're fortunate, right? Like, I've had a good life, and I will fund Liberty until we get through the fucking bear market if that's what I have to do. That's not really good business, though, right? So I have a lot of pressure on us internally. There is a royalty enforcement solution on a token level, on the protocol level coming very soon. Probably, who knows? Yeah, probably before you get this thing up, an announcement will be made. And then we have been accumulating. We bought a bunch of squirrels. We have a lot of the Hallowed. We'll go into the AMM world soon, and we'll participate there and generate revenue there. And back to my earlier point of not opening my mouth about where we're going, I'm not going to open my mouth about what we're building. I'm highly confident. We did announce it to a degree, right? So we announced the division. I've rolled that back because it's going to be part of this thing that we're building. And this thing that we're building, I was just on with Ansel this morning for an hour and a half about it, is really good. And we're really happy about it. I don't know if it's a sprint. I don't know if it's a marathon. I don't know if it's somewhere in between to get it built. I think probably February, March is the timeline that in my head is like, having built real tech in Web 2, knowing that Web 3 tech takes a little bit longer, that's sort of the timeline that we have internally for really getting it going. We'll see. But financially, not concerned. The team's good. We're not going anywhere. We'll keep everybody around. Business concerns, right? I think every project should have concerns about being self-sustaining and not having to go take venture money to grow. And I made a tweet about this last week, right? Now is the time to survive. Now's not the time to focus on growth. So survival is easy for us, easy-ish, for the reasons aforementioned, but growth is something that can happen, right? We say builders build in a bear market. Yeah, sure. We're going to build some shit. Will we put our full send behind that build, or will we just test privately and quietly until we can see the market picking back up? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to our earlier part of the conversation of, you just kind of take whatever comes your way, and you just you try certain things, and some things are going to work and some things aren't, and you just kind of, there's always a action that takes place if something, whether it works or doesn't work, there's always going to be another action you take from there. And so, yeah, no, that all makes sense. Do you guys have any, I guess, that you can talk about, any additional revenue streams that you're looking into, or is anything that you can elaborate on there?
I mean, the multi-chain mint is not a revenue stream. It's more of a raise, right? But that motherfuckers, that comes with revenue streams baked into the partnership. Like, I can't talk about it. I can tell you that it will make so much sense that Liberty Square partnered with this company to do this thing based on what we were in June and July and August, right? Which is a project largely based in art and lore, which we still are a project largely based in art and lore. We just have a technology component that we've built in now. So yeah, there's revenue streams coming. Okay. And those revenue streams, like, so here's the challenge I think often people don't think about when they're saying, like, well, as a project, you should have another revenue stream. Okay, sure. Of course, every project should have revenue streams. However, who are your customers? Where are you getting them from?
Right.
You getting them from Web3? Because if you're getting them from Web3, everybody's down bad. Projects, community members, holders, etc. You getting them from Web 2? No, they don't. They don't want anything to do with us right now, especially Solana right now. You think anybody wants anything to do with Solana right now? You're fucking crazy. They will, again, so that's cool. So where are you getting those revenue streams from? And where are you getting the new people to pay you money for those revenue streams? And yeah, give it a few weeks and you'll understand.
Yeah.
And I'm super confident about that, right? Like, I think it makes a lot of sense for us.
If there's one thing I know, with the outfit you have on currently, you could go rob a bank if
if push comes to shove, I'll find a Brinks truck and back it up. Yeah, it's no, man. Like, it's hard for sure from a business perspective, not financial, not illiquid or whatever. From a business perspective, to go like, cool. How much do I personally need to invest to get us through to XYZ, right? And right now it's zero because we're decently funded. But at some point, that zero may become 40 grand or 60 grand or 300 grand. And I don't know that answer right now. My job is, beyond what we've already talked about, is to race against that and go, cool, get those revenue streams producing real ass revenue beyond royalties. Because people have to also remember, like, we're 4.4% royalties to start. It wasn't a ton of money. And sure, as floor price go up, royalty revenue go up. It's not a line item on a budget, right? It's extra ancillary revenue that you're finding. It's found money because you can't rely on it. I can't say, yeah, I don't know. I think we'll do, this much volume a day in sales. The fuck? I don't control that. So, yeah, so it's not that much money.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about cross-chain and multi-chain and whatnot. So what are your just like overall thoughts on cross-chain and multi-chain? Obviously, that's been a hot subject in the crypto world as of the last few weeks in the NFT world. And so, yeah, I guess what are your overall thoughts on that? And then what can you elaborate with what you guys have coming with this multi-chain project that you're working on currently? What are your thoughts on it overall? And then what can you tell us about what's coming?
Overall, I think that there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions that don't have projects to run and don't get questions like, how are your finances? Right? That's what I think overall. I think that, overall, whether it's ETH or Polygon or other blockchain technologies, they offer advantages and disadvantages, of course. And I think that we preach all the time about onboarding new people, onboarding the masses. So how else can you do that? Do you want to go educate people who know nothing about blockchain technology or NFTs? Or do you want to go to another chain where you already know 85 to 90% of what you need to do as a founder and educate those people and learn the other 10% really fast, right? Death by fire a little bit, or trial by fire. And I think that overall, speaking from a very, very macro point of view, I've always thought multi-chain is the future. I've always thought that there's McDonald's and Burger King and Pepsi and Coke and Netflix and Amazon and Disney and well, Marvel's now absorbed, but Disney and Knott's Berry Farms and other amusement park franchises sort of nationally. People don't care. People don't care.
Yeah.
The people in Des Moines, Iowa, who have no blockchain technology experience, they don't give a fuck. They want good product from good companies that mean well. They don't care. So why do we care so much? And when you're talking technologically or from a technology standpoint, why wouldn't we want to all collectively explore these blockchains together? Why wouldn't we want to lay down our weapons, ETH versus Sol, and go like, fuck yeah, blockchain versus the world. Let's go educate people. As projects, why wouldn't, the hot button sort of thing, right? Like, why wouldn't the biggest project in the ecosystem go try and open a restaurant somewhere else in a different state, city, country, county, whatever, and get new customers. Why wouldn't they want to grow their business? Why wouldn't we want to grow our business, which we do, right? We want more holders because at the end of the day, you take the biggest project on Solana and take all of their holders between their two collections, and they're not selling out one baseball game.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
Not one night. Not a whole season, just not one night. They're not doing 10% of what Disney does a day at just Disneyland and tickets. The fuck? Why would we want to limit people and limit that growth? Why wouldn't we encourage it and say, fuck yeah, let's rally behind this person? Does it have a potential negative impact on Solana? Maybe. But that's not on their shoulders. That's actually on the holder's shoulders. That's not on our shoulders. It's actually on the community's shoulders, right? If one project or one group of projects or 7 projects are holding up Solana as an ecosystem, we're doing it wrong. And I think that people oftentimes forget that. They want to point fingers at everybody else around them. What are you doing? Right? And I don't mean that in a combative way. It's what are you doing to maintain Solana? What are you doing to help the ecosystem from collapsing if one project leaves, if 3 projects leave, if they just go multi-chain? Maybe they, who knows, man? Who the fuck knows how people are going to approach it? But much to the point, until you put the information out there, you don't get any feedback. So if you live in a house with your entire team, or if you're just living in a world with just your team talking about things, it all sounds good. You put the message out there and people come back at you about things, maybe you reflect upon that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with multi-chain, clearly. What I can say about us with Legends is that we were approached by a very, very, very big, very, very big corporation about the blockchain that they're launching. There's a layer 2 on Ethereum. And they said, do you want to be part of this? And here's what we're doing and here's why. And we went back and forth about the concerns that I had as a Solana maxi in my heart, right? In my fucking soul is Solana. And just what I believe about Solana long term. And they were able to sort of answer that and alleviate my problems. And they were able to give me certain assurances about certain things. And so we said, yeah, let's fucking ride, right? Let's go tap into more human beings with a marketing department, with a PR department, with people who can help explain blockchain technology to people who go, but isn't it bad for the environment? Or isn't it this? Or isn't it that? If this company does what the fuck they're trying to do and does it properly, do you know how much easier that makes it to onboard people? And the other part of it is, how do I navigate this? The other part of it is that there are built-in mechanisms for me, for us, for Liberty, to utilize that platform to onboard people back into Solana. And that was one of the key points of what we negotiated, is like, if we do this, we have to be able to do this. There was no questions. It wasn't like I could show you the text and you'd be like, holy fuck, it was that easy. And I was like, not easy, but not hard, right? It was just thinking about it. So everything that we do, Solana comes to the front of the brain of like, how do we make sure that the place that's treated us so well never feels like we're abandoning them? And I think one way to do that is to bring new people in. And if you're doing that with a collection and people can easily on-ramp right into Sol, that marketing department and that PR department that was working so hard just helped us grow Sol.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I think, a lot of it sometimes when you see somebody come over from ETH to Solana, people are super excited for it, right? Like, oh my God, we got ETH money coming in. It's always the thing you hear, right? You got an ETH whale coming to sweep, blah, blah. And yet when you hear about somebody going from Solana to ETH in any regard, the people are mad, right? And I get it. A lot of it's because people are concerned about their bags and they want to make sure that the projects that they're invested in are good and whatnot. And I totally get that. On the other hand, I think we need to think about that, like, it's good for us to experience different blockchains and learn from them and and see what people they have on those blockchains and see if we can bring them over here, and then also if we can expand over there. I think it's an important thing. I think in order for NFTs to get to the level that we want them to be, in my opinion, they have to be multi-chain because and cross-chain and everything like that, because I think that the 95% of people in this world don't give a shit about the tech. And like, that's the part of it that I feel like people just don't want to come to grips with. But it's the reality of it, of like, most people just want a dope experience. And so however that dope experience is created, they don't necessarily care. They just want the dope experience.
They want to click button, be done.
Right. And so with that, I think a lot of that, the future of NFTs, in my opinion, is cross-chain and multi-chain and everything like that. With that, does that mean every blockchain is going to make it? Of course not, right? But if there's an incredible community on each of these and the technology backs it, then they're all going to continue to develop in a certain way. And I think there's all going to be, I almost look at it like shoes, right? Like, you commented when you walked in my place of like how many pairs of shoes I have, right? And I have a lot of different types of shoes. I got Nikes, I got Adidas, I got dress shoes, I've got, this, I've got that,
got
right?
Those Louboutins I saw too.
Hell no, I don't. But I have a bunch of different types of shoes, and I almost look at that as like different types of blockchains. Each one kind of offers something different. And so for me, I'm like, does that, people have asked me about the podcast. They're like, would you have an Ethereum project on here? I'm like, fuck yeah. If it's a dope conversation, why would I not? If it's an Aptos conversation, I'm down for it. Polygon, fuck it, let's do it. Like, why?
Maybe not Aptos, but yeah.
Maybe not Aptos, but for sure Polygon. I'd love to hear about the business development side of things and stuff like that.
Super
right?
curious.
Yeah. So, for me, it's like at the end of the day, I love NFTs and I want to, I'm very curious to see how all of this develops. But with that, there's going to be certain things that we try, and some of them are going to work, some of them aren't. But a big part of it is we can't be afraid to make choices, and not everyone's going to always support those choices. Doesn't mean that, like, I'm not going to agree with, every project founder that comes on here. I'm not going to agree with every decision that they make, but there's going to be times where I might be right, and there's times that they're going to be right, and that's all of it. But that's how we grow, is you can't be afraid to make changes, whether that be within your project, whether that be within expanding to other chains. There's a lot of different things that are going to happen, but that's where we just need to see how it plays out. And it's going to be very interesting. But I think that goes back to our earlier part of the conversation, where I think people need to take a step back, take a deep breath, and like, let's see how things play out. And with that, I understand it's emotionally charged time. We just have to remind ourselves there's a lot of factors at play.
There's also two parts to that too that I don't want to overlook, right? One is from sort of a consumer standpoint. If I'm in a project as a consumer, as a holder, and that project goes multi-chain, I'm going to learn really quickly what that project's made of. I'm going to learn really quickly if the ideas that they're spouting off are in an echo chamber, or if they have legs outside of our echo chamber in Solana. It's really cult of personality in Solana. It's not always, as we can attest to in many instances, it's not always merit-based.
Yeah.
It's the loudest voice wins sometimes. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of little sociological nuance. The other part of it is, as a founder, right? Take outside of the consumerism side of it. I need to learn more about myself. I need to grow. I need to be on the quest for fucking new wisdom. I need to be on the quest for new knowledge. I need to be on the quest to be correct, be incorrect. I need affirmations and challenges put in front of me so that I know that I was right in some thinking, that reinforces that thinking, that allows me to double down our resources on that thinking. And I know that I was wrong on other thinking, which allows me to sort of stop that, arrest that sort of process, and bring it back to zero and go, why was I wrong on that thinking? And sort of do an autopsy on it to make sure that we're not expending resources in a wasteful manner, which is time, right? Time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, okay, so I have a few more things that I want to chat about here. So quick question for people who bought items from Mercantile: when should they expect delivery?
Very, very soon.
There we go.
Yeah, that was a fuck up. I'm not even going to talk about the reason or the excuse. I'll talk about it at town hall, but it was a fuck up. Technologically, there's an issue, and then it compounded, and then time.
Yeah.
Fuck up.
Yeah.
So it's a big L right on that one. Like, between Scribble and I, we know merch really fucking well. Took a big L on that one, and it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely think it's, with this space, if there's one thing people are learning, it's patience, because I think we all have an idea in our head of like how quickly certain things should happen. But man, it's just like life sometimes just reminds us it's not always going to go at the speed that we want it to. So
yeah, no, but nonetheless, again, people spent money on things that aren't in their hands, and I take that very seriously. It's just that's on a personal level, it's the biggest L that we've had so far.
So I want to talk to you, I guess, about the personal level sort of thing. So what has been, from when you started Liberty Square till now, what has been the biggest thing that I guess was unexpected, or the biggest lesson that you've learned from all of this? What has it been?
The biggest lesson we've kind of touched on. The biggest lesson is that shit just moves much faster in your mind than it's not analogous with a clock, right? And then the other part is that things just take longer, and that the tech is much slower than Web 2 tech in a lot of ways. It's just it's different tech. So conditioned thinking about how to build tech, or the tech that I've built, or the things that I've done in the past, led me to believe certain things. Arrogance, I would say, or comfortability, led me to believe certain things would be easier, and they're just not. And that's okay, right? I think we're still only 4 months old as a business, but we have to be better. And I would say, the thing that bums me out the most is that, a little bit about my IRL world. I'm better than this IRL. So my performance within Web3 needs to match my performance outside of Web3 really fucking quickly. And I'm really glad the Hallowed and all of these things are done. And I think part of that is probably biting off a little more than I personally should have for about 6 weeks, and it catching up with me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So, okay, next, I wanted to chat about the deadlines, right? Deadlines has been something that's been a hot subject, obviously, in Solana. And I know we've touched on this briefly, sure. But what are your thoughts on deadlines moving forward? Like, do you think, taking like Purgatory, for example, like, are you going to come out and say...
No, Purgatory is on time.
Okay.
Had that conversation today. Have a call when I leave here with somebody else. Purgatory is on time. Purgatory is launching the 25th. Period. Fucking period. Yeah.
I'm going to be in Hawaii on the 25th, so I'm hoping I win some items, right?
Look, I didn't say it wouldn't be 11:59 p.m. on the 25th. No. It's on course. There's just two different versions that we're going with, and one, it just depends on how much time we end up with on the build side. It's largely built. Ansel built it already. We're just trying to do a couple cool shit. But I should note, right, now's a really good time to note, Purgatory's token gated for squirrels only. It's squirrel Purgatory, right? So if you don't have a squirrel, if you only have the Hallowed, Purgatory matters not to you.
Fair. Are there going to be certain things that are for Hallowed members only?
No.
Okay, so everything will tie back at the end of the day to the
squirrels will always be their number one priority.
Okay, sure. And then will there be benefits moving forward of having a squirrel and a Hallowed?
Yes.
Okay.
Very, very, very important benefits.
Okay. We're all going to read into that.
I'll be very blunt. If you don't have both, you won't have access to the multi-chain whitelist.
Will it be a 1-for-1 thing where for every squirrel
pair, for every pair?
Okay.
Squirrel and Hallowed gets one.
Okay. And then the Liberty Square books that you guys have coming. What is? Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and what was the original thought process behind those?
They're dope. The stories are really fucking good. I'm really happy with them. So like I've said, the full story is written, not illustrated. We decided that Genesis stories were a great idea, and they are. So Harlow, which is Squirrels for Liberty, is written fully. Cinder and Malice, who are the Nutcracker MC guys, written fully. I'm not going to tell you sort of a couple of them. It's not going to be 10 anymore because we combined some of them. That's the alpha on that. But they're dope. And we had an illustrator from the comics world, a highly respected woman, and something happened. And she got cold feet about Web3, about blockchain. And this happened with about 7 or 8 artists back to back after that. Something transpired in the comics industry, at least in the circle that I and our Eisner winning writer run in, where they just weren't interested anymore. They're just like, nope. And I could show you the fucking paper trail and you'd be like, holy shit. That said, I woke up at 5 this morning to have a call with somebody, and they're drawing some pages and making sure that, because the other thing I think people don't understand about sort of the types of books that they are, which are sort of comic books in a way, graphic novel-y, is that sequential art is a totally different art form than just drawing pictures, right? Because you're telling a visual story with no words sometimes, with sound effects sometimes. So you go with layouts and you go with colors and inks and all these things, and there's just a different process going on. And the person that we talked to this morning is really, really technically savvy when it comes to how to do layouts. They look great, and their art is amazing. So fingers crossed, we'll get a couple pages next week, review it together with them, make sure that they like what they're doing, make sure that we like what they're doing, and then we just fucking hit the gas on it, because they could start drawing right now and they're never going to catch us, right? On the writing side. Again, multi-chain partner matters. So we're sprinting just as fast to get it done. For many reasons.
There we go. And then the cipher, the puzzle, what can you tell us about that? And then how, I guess, like, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think it's going to be easy to solve?
No.
Like, okay, do you think you would solve, actually, better question. Do you think you would solve it if you didn't know the answer?
No.
Okay. So what percentage chance do you think we solve it?
I think there's a high likelihood that it is solved on like day 16 or 17, but not in the first 13 days.
Why do you think that?
Because I made it.
Can you tell me the answer?
No.
It was worth it.
No, that sounds so arrogant, because I made it. Dude, because I made it fucking hard. Because it's fun, right? Because that, for me, is fun. And it's challenging and it's exciting. And I think that this is what I think. This is what I think will happen. I made some really easy because I want people to solve it, right? It's not just a gimmick where it's like, oh, go solve it, but it's impossible. Like, I made it easy enough to solve, but hard because it's a condensed time frame. And people still may not solve it before it gets to the sort of second drawdown, and they may never, because they may give up at that point. Either way, that 12.5% will stay there forever until somebody solves it. There's so many layers of complexity to what has to be solved. And some of the clues are so vague that people are going to have to really... Yes, because we did these ciphers in September. And part of that was, it was all an experiment. Weird. I got to watch how people worked. I got to watch how people solved. I got to watch what they did, how they did it, what tools they used, etc. And then Malik, who's a big member in our community, who's huge into these things, was like, yeah, but I got to watch how you work too. And I'm like, but I got to work in silence when I was creating these because I'd already learned these things. So it's really tricky. And it's really like knowing how they work, our community that I've watched do it. So maybe somebody who I don't know will win it. But I think that it'll come from the Cypher DAO group. And knowing how they work, they're literally going to have to change how they work to solve it. So that's why I think it's going to be so challenging. Because how hard is changing yourself?
Pretty difficult.
It's fucking hard.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm excited for it.
I am too, man. I really want, like, it's like 3,600 Soul and fucking 500,000 Filth. It's real. It's 460,000 Filth or something in that wallet. Okay, that's life-changing money.
Yeah.
If somebody can win that, I don't know what I'm going to tell the tax guy. I'm going to fucking eat that one, but it's life-changing money.
That's exciting. No, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to whoever solves it, because that's going to be an epic celebration, and I also know it's not going to be me. So I'm very
Dude,
excited.
you don't have the time to do that.
No. I'm very excited for that person. So shout outs to them. But
it is just a game, though. Like, I want to be clear to people. Like, there's no, because people will make themselves insane trying to solve it. It won't be the last time we do this.
Yeah.
Like, this is literally a test case for next October. Literally.
Next October for my 31st birthday. Incredible.
In Vegas, nonetheless.
Is it Vegas happening again next October? Is that
it is for us?
Oh, hell yeah. There we go.
Well, maybe not Vegas proper, but
fair. Okay, and then one of the last questions that I have for you is with kind of Twitter and these different projects and things like that, I feel like oftentimes people try to pit projects against each other. And I see it all the time, and it's one of my probably least favorite things that I notice on Twitter is that there's always kind of my project is better than your project kind of mindset. Not necessarily from the teams, but from a lot of the holders, right? And there's a lot of this, especially when things are kind of down bad, people are very, very protective over what they have, right? And so how do you navigate that in terms of like taking, I guess one of the more like high profile examples of that would be, I feel like you and Frank are two of the most respected people in the space. And so when Frank speaks, a lot of people want to hear your thoughts on it. And when you speak, a lot of people want to hear Frank's thoughts on it. And inherently that more or less people try to pit you two against each other. Right. And how do we navigate that when I feel like constructive conversation is good? I feel like, you have your thoughts, Frank has his thoughts. Who knows who's completely, nobody's completely right at the end of the day. But how do you navigate that in the sense of like not wanting to pit the projects against each other, because that doesn't help, in my opinion, doesn't help anybody. But also navigating like, it's good to have discourse. It's good to have conversation. It's good to sometimes have disagreements and things like that. So what's your personal thoughts on that? And how do we navigate that? And then how do you navigate that with holders too? And in terms of making sure that they don't pit the two projects against each other, especially when, they're both projects that you can respect in their own way.
Yeah, dude. First of all, it's fucking wild, right? Like, I have nothing but respect, not only for just Frank, but that entire team and what they do every day, right? Like, every day, they're 60 to 70% of the trading volume on Solana. And I can't like implore people to recognize that enough, that they're 60 to 7% of the trading volume. Would the volume still exist? Yeah, of course. It would disperse out. But to control or to capture that amount of market share as a project and have it be that way consistently, you can't emphasize that enough. They're smart, they're young, they're hungry, they're foolish in a good way, right? Like, stay young, stay foolish, that sort of mantra, in the best possible way. And they're fucking assassins, man. Like, they really want to win. So as far as like disagreeing with Frank, like say the royalty tweet that I sent out and that when they went zero, I still agree with my opinion. I think that we've seen that overall it's not a net positive for Solana as an ecosystem. That doesn't mean that their decision wasn't theirs to make and that it was incorrect. I never said that. I just think that I have a different opinion about it. And guess what? I disagree with my wife every day about something. I disagree with my kids every day about something. Disagree with Cass, Frisk. Like, part of being a human is being able to vocally disagree with somebody, not just internalize it. If I keep that shit inside, then it just becomes a resentment. Why would I want that? As far as holders going against each other, I think that goes back to sort of breaking the silos down that we were speaking about earlier, and it's something that I've been thinking a lot about. It's hard, right? It's hard. I hip shotted that tweet, and there's a lot of DGods diehards that floored their fucking squirrels and took off. Okay, goodbye, right? Sorry, like, I'm sorry that I disagreed with an opinion publicly. I can also imagine that they have the same thing when some tweets are fired off over there where people bail. And that's okay too, right? I think that as projects, we have to stand by who we are with our convictions and not be afraid of those repercussions, right? As far as maintaining holders from fighting with each other, we often, like, you'll never see me talk shit about a project publicly. I think maybe I've done it once or twice because there are some that deserve it. And I think sometimes I get a little catty, a little pissy, and I'll go ahead and vocalize that, but it's pretty infrequent. And most of the time, if I do, it's largely regarded to just be a shitbag project or a shitbag founder. As far as our holders, or sort of that silo of holders pitting against each other, my PFP is cooler than your PFP. I don't know what determines that. That's subjective. Do you like the art better? Is it more valuable? Is it, higher price? Is it better community? Like, let's also knock it off, right? Like, but I think demographically, geographically, we have so many different cultures, ages, races, sort of personalities as holders, as a holder base in general. People who are in it, some people are in Liberty because of the violence. Some people, there's a cult of personality sort of following me and the bullshit that I spew. Some people, it's, they buy because somebody in a group chat says to buy. I don't know why they're there. But when I take all of those people as a cross section and the melting pot that they are, no projects are really better than each other, right? I think Meta Tattoo Club's got a super badass community right now. I think what they're trying to do is cool, and I wish them the best of luck. But like, I'll see these fucking knuckleheads on the timeline. Should I change my PFP to this, or should I sweep this floor or this floor? It's like, that's where that divisive sort of shit stems from, is people sort of clout farming based on projects working in the communities that we've built. They want more followers, so they say, who's got the loudest community? I'll sweep the floor. Shut the fuck up. You've got 4 soul in your wallet and you're not sweeping a goddamn thing, So like, it's that shit that drives divisiveness for sure, or contributes to it. It's passion for sure. We're fucking, as Solana as a whole is such a passionate place, which is one of my main reasons for loving it so much. But with that comes that a little bit. And I think that as long as we're not stoking flames, which some influencers and some spaces hosts do that, which is super dangerous. And I think, again, it's for personal gain. And if you're doing things for personal gain, as a person of influence within Twitter, fucking Twitter, if that's the best you've done and you're doing things for personal gain there, you should probably take a long look in the mirror and say, like, doesn't matter how many hundreds of people come to your shit or like your tweets, what are you actually contributing? And if you're going to contribute divisive behaviors or sort of stoke the flames of divisiveness, that's a really dangerous thing to do.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I think it's interesting because, obviously, like, I've been rocking my DGOD for the last year, and there's times that people in the DGOD community say shit where I'm like, hey, I don't agree with that person. Yeah. And I also don't always feel like just because someone's rocking a DGOD PFP that they really, I guess, like, embody what the DGOD like mentality has been, right? Like, just because somebody bought one last week doesn't mean like that, kind of how the rest of us, like how the rest of the community moves and acts, right? And like, a lot of us have been around for a long time, and there's also some new people that, I may not agree with everything they say, right? And then I also look at, a Liberty Square PFP, and I'm not going to agree with everything that they say either. And
neither
I think,
am I.
Right. And I think that goes with everything of like, there's always going to be some people that I agree with. There's going to be some people I don't. There's going to be people who agree with me and people who don't. But with that, I think the thing that we all have to keep in mind is that we also, whether we like it or not, we reflect back on the PFP that we hold. And so if you're a Liberty Square person rocking a Liberty Square PFP, if you say something, there are going to be people who interpret that as this is how the Liberty Square community is. Yes. It's the same thing with me rocking my DGOD, that there are people that are going to say, oh, well, Marc says this because he's a DGOD, right? Yeah. So it is at the end of the day, we have to keep that in mind with everything that we say, that if we want to create the best community possible, if we want the Solana NFT to be the best community possible, that we have to remind ourselves that you also, when you do say something negative about another project, by all means, you have every right to, freedom of speech. You can say whatever you'd like, but you also then create a target on the back of the project that you're rocking. And so I think people have to keep that in mind, is that, we're all trying to do our best. And when, and there's a lot of founders that are busting ass to provide for their community. And sometimes those founders are going to do everything in their power, and it's just not going to work out. And they're like, not all projects are going to survive. And there's so many reasons as to why that is. It's not always black and white. There's a shit ton of gray area. And so I think just with that, keep in mind that, like, when you're saying something, you are essentially an ambassador for the PFP that you're rocking. And so just keep that in mind. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than me and you. It's bigger than everybody else. Like, it is, it's a collective sum of all of us. And so just keep that in mind, that when people talk about a project, that becomes as a result of how that community acts, how that community moves. And so if you want your community to be the most well-respected community out there, you got to give people reasons to respect it. And, and I think that's something that, every project has to keep in mind. I'm not saying that necessarily as like a Liberty thing or a DGOT thing. It's just literally for everybody, that, I speak for my podcast. So when I say something, it's, I have to make sure that I'm speaking for my podcast in the best way possible. I want to make sure that, like, I don't say something, if I say some out of pocket stupid shit, and you've been on my podcast multiple times and we're friends, it's a bad look for Liberty, right? And so, in a way, right?
By association, sometimes, like, first of all, I'm going to call your ass and be like, yo,
what the fuck are you doing?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
But I also think, so individualism is important.
Yeah.
I think that individual expression should never sort of be stifled. But I also think that we have to remember, man, it's so wild when you're in it, right? Because I truly don't think people really take this step back often. You're talking to the same 500 to 7,000 people, or 500 to 700 people every single day. The biggest spaces, the most controversial ones, get what? 1,800 people in them, right? Yeah. The best, biggest accounts get how many likes, how many retweets, how many comments? It's less than thousands. You're talking to the same people over and over. So why do you want to fight with somebody? You're going to see them again in 2 weeks.
Yep.
You're just going to cross paths again. And I have people I don't like. People in the ecosystem I don't like. I don't care. I just don't deal with them anymore. I don't acknowledge them. They don't acknowledge me. We move the fuck about our business. It's no big deal. So I think, yeah, I would also say, like, just earlier before we started, somebody responded, I think, to one of the, excuse me, one of the tweets and said, if you had 20 minutes left to live, or 20 minutes that you could say anything to the whole world, right? What would you say? And my response was, be kind, life is short. I don't live by that every single breath I take. You know me. I'm fucking, like, I am kind. I'm genuinely, in my heart and soul, I like people. It doesn't mean I can't be a dick. And I think I should probably preach what I practice a little bit more on that one. But I think that especially right now, for the next foreseeable future, in any crypto blockchain technology ecosystem, NFT ecosystem, pain is here. And pain is real. And there's a lot of people going through a lot of it. And if it were up to me, yeah, we'd just probably be kind for a little bit.
Yeah. I think there's a time and place for violence. There's also a time and place for calm. And,
yeah.
I think we need to keep that in mind and remind ourselves that this is all,
sorry.
It's all good. That, I think we need to remind ourselves that at our core, this is bigger than just JPEGs on the internet, that there's a lot going on, and we talked about that at the beginning of this episode, but there's a lot of people who've been drastically affected financially throughout this last few weeks. And we just need to keep that in mind, that, like, it's, a lot of people come to this space because it's a break from politics. It's a break from, real life. It's a break from, family issues and things like that. And so, I just want it to be a positive place for people to be, and I think that's something that I love about the space is that, we are communicating with people that have all different types of backgrounds than us and things like that. And we've all bonded over our love for these fucking JPEGs, right? And so that's a beautiful thing. And I think we have to keep that in mind, while also reminding ourselves that, like, yeah, if we want to onboard more people into the space, you got to do it by making it a space that people want to be in,
Yeah.
And so I think we just have to keep that in mind. Once again, that doesn't mean don't disagree with each other, but there's a way to do it, and there's a way to have constructive conversations, rather than trying to tear each other down. And I think that's something that I think we've grown in ways. Like the space a year ago versus where it's at now is very different, and I'm looking forward to seeing where we're at a year from now, from today, because I know we're going to continue to grow and we're going to continue to develop and things like that. But I also think it just requires all of us to take a hard look in the mirror and just ask ourselves, like, am I leading the space in a way that is the way that I want it to go? And as long as you're doing that, I think we're gonna grow the space in the right way. And I think it's a matter of time. And once again, I've seen the growth, and I look forward to more growth. And these conversations are important in order to develop that growth. So with that, I think this conversation has been awesome. I always love doing these podcasts with you, and I'm looking forward to doing more of them because I know it's something that I always look forward to, and I know a bunch of other community members, and then even people that are not in Liberty Square look forward to because they respect you and the rest of the team and everything like that. So with that, I do want to give you an opportunity to for holders, for anybody who's looking to get into Liberty Square or into the Hallowed collection, what, I guess, give them an elevator pitch. Is there anything, why should they be holding Liberty Square? Why should they be buying into Liberty Square, the Hallowed? And, what can they look forward to in the future? Any alpha you want to drop? Here's your opportunity. Tell them, Liberty.
Yeah, look. What's the best way to say this? Liberty Square is a project largely based in art and lore, right? We're not a PFP project. We've said it, we've done it, we've lived that. At the end of the day, what we are now is we're a community of like-minded individuals that believe in where we're going. I believe, as a project founder, I believe we are well positioned to survive this bear market. We are well positioned to thrive in this bear market. And I'm very, very fucking excited about the art and lore development that we have going on. The alpha that you asked for, Mr. Colcer, is that I truly actually believe the technology company that we're going to build outside of the media company is going to be really, really, really fucking successful. And I think that is because we cracked a code internally of something that's missing that we need really badly. And we figured out that everybody else needs it pretty badly. And that's, we've sort of talked about it as concourse externally. I'm not going to disclose what the actual name of it is. And I think that is a multi-chain solution to problems that exist, royalties or not, right? So everybody wanted to solve royalties. We didn't. We wanted to look at the other problems because everybody else is solving royalties. And we discovered some problems. So I'm really fucking excited that we did. I'm like, it's not something, again, we talk about the unknown unknowns and the things that sort of happen. I'm not putting a date on it. I'm not talking about it. We're not teasing it. There's no logos out there. There's no, this is what it's going to do. We're actually just funding it and building it. End of story. We're going to build it until it works the way that we want it to work. We're going to deploy it for Liberty and our holders first, and we're going to make sure that it works the way that we anticipate it. We're going to fix any glitches, and then we'll push it wider. And between that, next October, our multi-chain partnership that we have, the books, the stories, the lores, Degenerates with Raindrop and Boots now, and building that project that way, that edition of the project, which will be March or April. Like, we need the market to do what it's going to do for a minute. Yeah, I'm pretty fucking bullish on the next 365 days for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm fucking excited, man. Like, and I'm happy. I'm actually happy. I wasn't super happy during the non-reveal of the Hallowed. I'll tell you that. I'm really happy today. I'm really excited about the future, and I'm having a lot of fun. Now it's just, there's a part of me that just wants to say, shut up and let me go work. It doesn't work that way, right? And I have to accept that. So I have to tell myself to shut up and go work.
Well, hey, we can wrap up the podcast here, and you can, I'll tell you, you can shut up and go work. So
go pick up my kids. Yeah.
There you go. But no, Liberty, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I always love having these conversations with you. I'm looking forward to round 3 because I know we're going to be running it back soon too. And so
probably in a month.
Yeah. So let's keep this going. But appreciate you taking the time today. Appreciate everybody taking the time to listen. This is the first podcast that this might be the longest one yet. Which is awesome.
Long, dude. Long.
My leg is cramped.
Your third leg.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, last question. And Jux asked this one: what color is your underwear currently?
I don't have any on.
Oh, God. All right. That's how we're wrapping it up. Jux, there you go. Enjoy that one. And everybody else, thank you for listening. We'll run this back soon. See you guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. See you, Liberty. See you guys.